Dr. Terry Wager, we just talked about disc profiling. How did you first come across, we'll say, personality tests?
Personality assessment was what I actually went to school for. And not just personality, but psychological assessment. And so there's personality, there's IQ, there's all kinds of different assessing of people. There's people's abilities, everyday living abilities that we assess. There's their psychological functioning. The difference between the DISC, the MBTI, and the things that I use are those are sociological instruments where we can actually see the group. If you actually want to take somebody out of that group and change them from this group to that group, you have to have something that's a little deeper. How does somebody make that big change? And that's very interesting, and that's where we really look at the idea from that sociological point of view. How do people do that? But from psychology, we go, okay, what was the change agent in there? And this is when we start looking at high performers. This is what we look at when we want to help someone start moving towards that person they want to be.
How do you know whether somebody's going to be successful or not, or whether they have the ability or not?
It really lays within the coachability aspect. And coachability is basically, are they willing to listen and do three things? Are they able to explore, experiment, and experience? If they can explore where they're at, what they're doing, and what they want to do, they can experiment with trying things differently. And then they can experience the difference between what they used to do and what they do now, and then continue to do that new thing that worked and let go of the old stuff. We will see change with every person out there.
On the mission to build 100 millionaires, how do you know if a million is too much for a person that you're talking to?
Here's the thing. It's not. But what is the story we tell ourselves that a million is a lot. Because if you talk to a billionaire, a million's nothing. If you talk to somebody that has $10, a million's way out of the realm. And so which one's right? Our experience tells us that this is the way it is. And what we're really talking about there is this lie machine. We take our own experience, which is basically our story of what happened, and we listen to it, and then we repeat it. And we don't necessarily know we're repeating it because the circumstances outside look different. But if we start looking back across our lives, we start realizing that there's real patterns. But how do we break a pattern? How do we change a pattern? How do we alter the pattern? That's the question. When we can alter a pattern, we can create change.
Dr. Terry Wager, as we continue down this path of psychology and understanding and really connecting how to make more money with this thing in front of us, how do we leverage like those strengths and gifts that we know we have to increase income? What is one of the processes you use in generator coaching?
The biggest processes we use is emotional identification. And if you are not aware of the patterns that got you stuck where you're at, then you're going to stay in that pattern. And the reality is when we're at a place that we're staying there, we start moving away from our goal. And so what we want to do is we want to start really looking at how do we move forward. And that's what goals are all about. When we talk about goals for 2022, we really start looking at, okay, what's our big goal we're going to do? What's that one goal we're going to do? We're going to focus on that one thing. Everything from our goals comes from us. If we don't know who we are, and we don't know what the emotions are that is driving our behavior, we're going to make goals that don't make sense to us, but they sounded good. And now, I don't know if anybody has ever been in that situation. I know I have, and I'm pretty sure everybody else has too, haven't you? That you've made a goal because you thought somebody else thought you should. Or you've decided that you want to do what other people are doing because they're doing it and it looked fun. And then you get into it and you're like, I don't like this at all. And it's because you weren't aligned with yourself and what you really want and what you're really about. And so the goal that you created sounded really good at the time, but you were never invested in it. And as investors in real estate, investors in business, investors in ourselves, we have to really understand what we're investing in. And so if we don't understand ourselves, we're investing in a bad deal at that point. We have to get to us first, and we have to get clear on what we're all about. And the fact of the matter is many of us may be clear in one area of our life, but we're not clear in everything. And the noise of the world and the noise of our head creates a difficulty in getting clear. And that's why we need mentors. That's why we need coaches.
Dr. Terry, what is the difference between a coach, a mentor, and a mastermind?
There's so many different ideas of what these are. I love yours, as a mentor has already done it and will show you how they do it. A coach will understand what you're looking to do and help you put a plan together to get there. But the reality is if you want to get there, there are certain steps you must take. The coach helps identify those steps that you want to take to get where you want to go. And if you don't take them, you're not going there.
And I found that somebody without goals is useless to a coach.
The unexamined life is not worth living. I'm going to say that again. The unexamined life is not worth living. And what that basically means is that if you don't know who you are, what you're about, what you're feeling emotionally, you're just going to be reacting to the world and broadcasting the pain of not getting what you want because you have no idea what you want. And so we have to examine ourselves. And so that's one of the simple things that we think is so difficult. But I mean, I've simplified that process so easy. And you know, the fact of the matter is if we look at ourselves just a little bit each day, we get to really know who we are.
I think of hope, right, as this terribly dangerous concept because hope puts something just outside of reach. There's no guarantee of it. And so like people who are walking around feeling hopeless, like it's almost like that's actually almost a good thing. You're almost healed. Like you're close to being better. But it is such a miserable feeling, right? It is such a miserable emotion where now you feel like there's not even a chance of success. How does somebody go from feeling hopeless to feeling hopeful?
I was in a hopeless state in my life. I ran my life like a drunk driver, not worrying about other people, worrying only about myself, making sure that I got where I needed to go, and not thinking about anybody else. And I didn't know how to live my life. I absolutely didn't know how to live my life. I can't live my life. Everything I do causes me more pain. I've ran off friends. I've ran off resources. I've used up everything in my life. Sitting in that cell realizing that I am all alone. There's nobody coming for me. There's nobody left to call. There's nobody that I can reach out to. And the fact of the matter is I don't blame them.
What did you do?
I looked up and said, okay, of my own power, I've ruined my life. If I'm supposed to die, then just kill me. Or use me and put something in me that I can be of use to people because I am of no use to anyone and I don't like me very much at all.
You know, people listening to this think, oh, well, I've never, been addicted to alcohol or drugs or anything. But I had a very similar experience, right? I was always straight edge, always clean. And I got to a very painful point in my life where I was just like, oh my God, like I can't run my life. People every single day are living this. They don't know it because it's not hurting anyone or it's not obvious, walking around with the negativity, walking around with, oh, don't try that. You might get hurt. Like there's a lot of poison that people are like just addicted to that they don't even know they're addicted to. How does somebody go about like acknowledging that maybe they have self-defeating behaviors, damaging their own lives, but they don't even notice that they're doing? What are some signs that somebody could like look out for?
I mean, do you have what you want in life? No? It's because you listen to you. If you're not having the relationships, if you're not having conversations like this where people listen, if you're not having conversations with your partner, if you'd rather be somewhere else than where you are, it's a good freaking idea that there's a problem with you. Because the fact of the matter is wherever you go, there you are. And so if you don't like where you're at, you're probably having a problem with you. And if you're having a problem with you, you're going to start pointing the finger at everybody else. It was our own inability to be okay with ourselves that starts looking for the problem. And so when we can identify our emotion that gets triggered, let it go, we can get to a balanced place where we can be okay with ourselves, we can be okay with everyone else. We live with a certain amount of grace for the world, or acceptance is another word for grace. And so we can accept the world, we can accept ourselves, and we can actually enjoy things.
Like what are some of the blocks that people hit when it comes to money? Like very specifically to cash coming in. Why are they hitting these blocks? What makes it so prevalent in society? Like why is it that 95% of society, or 95% of America is average, right? Why is it 95% is average and they're not adjusting? You know, why is it that 1% make everything and 99% don't do more than the average?
The reality is the ego destroys the relationships. The ego destroys our relationship with money, or it makes it so big that we can't do it. And it's ego, and I call the ego eliminator of great opportunities. What we're doing is we're throwing away the opportunity for the excuse.
Handled that a long time ago, and the only thing I could find that like motivates me to keep doing things is, you know, reaching out, significance, like how big can I do stuff. But when people come to you and they ask, how do I get motivation? You know, I want to get motivated like Gualter. Like, aside from doing it the way I do it, what do you think are some other tools people could use to get motivated?
Motivation, and this goes into what we were talking about earlier with the values assessment. And the reality is we think we're motivated by money. We think we're motivated by status. We think we're motivated by relationships. And one relationship we are motivated, and that's the relationship with ourselves. But if we don't know what we value, or we don't know what we're not paying attention to within ourselves, then we miss what we value and we grab onto what we can see or what we think other people want for us. And so we miss that. But the motivation comes from inside. And so enthusiasm, encouragement, it comes from inside of us, and it comes from that connection to us inside. And so if you want more motivation, start a relationship with yourself.
I spend every Sunday facing this exact challenge. You know, what do I want? What do I want to create? You know, what's stopping me? Who do I need to connect with? And you know, I know Grant Cardone does the same thing. If you got to watch him on Undercover Billionaire, you see him stressing out. He's like, man, like, I'm not asking the right questions, or I'm not thinking the right things, or I'm not talking to the right people. Like there's all of that, you know, mental drama.
In the RV, and he's sitting there breaking down, crying. I'm ruining my family. And the fact of the matter is, he can leave that whole situation and be the billionaire he is. But in that moment, his ego got him, and he's listening to it, and he's actually articulating it out loud for all of us to hear. Oh, look, Grant has the same experience we do when he listens to himself. And then, what did he do to get out of it? I got to take action.
Yeah.
Why? Because he taught himself the same thing I taught myself and you taught yourself. You got to do something different to get something different. When we reach this point, it's the jumping off place. And you have two choices. Accept spiritual help or the bitter end. And then you know what we like to do? We go, well, how bitter is the bitter end?
How bad is it?
How bitter? Can I take a taste of the bitter to see just how bitter it is? And people really ride that bitter down.
We're talking about addiction, but I see people being addicted to poor. Like addicted to the broke, addicted to not having options, addicted to the bad relationship, addicted to spending time with the wrong people, like addicted to the small house, being cold.
And so we think that we're stuck in this. And here's the thing, how you come out is just based on what you're telling yourself about how you should show up or how you do show up or what people think. But when we can stop looking so much at that and start looking inside of us, we can go, wait a minute. What do I want? Why the hell do I want that? How do I want my life to be? What steps do I need to take to get there? What am I willing to give up to get there? Who am I willing to help?
I love that. Dr. Terry, for real estate agents who are listening, I spent so long training agents, and the goal for 2022 is to help 100 brokers expand their teams of 100 agents. So it's a 10,000 agent goal. If you were to give some advice for real estate agents who are looking to do better in sales using DISC, what piece of advice would that be? For a real estate agent who wants to do more sales and wants to leverage DISC or a behavioral test to do that, what behavioral test and what would you give them for a piece of advice?
I think a DISC is a very good idea to get kind of an idea of how you're showing up right now, because we're pattern people, and so we do show up in patterns. But I think the big piece when you're looking at your DISC profile is that is not how you are forever. It's how you are right now. And it's also how you're showing up to other people, most likely. And by the way, when you take it, don't take it right after a big win or a big loss. Take it while everything is pretty normal in your life, and you'll get a better reading on it because you won't be influenced by your ego. And then don't answer for how you think that people want you to show up. Actually just take it as, okay, I'm going to take a little snapshot look at myself. And then when you show up as a D, realize you're results oriented. But realize results are only a result of having relationships, being able to talk to people, and being able to help people understand things from your point of view. And you get your point of view by listening to other people too. And then if you're an I, be able to slow down enough and listen to the other people so that you can provide them what they're looking for. If you're an S, start focusing more on results a little bit, because you're very good with the relationships, but you might not move to results. You might not want to show up as much. And so show up and focus on what result can you help them with. And then if you're a C, you want to make sure that all of your analysis makes sense to the people you're talking about, because you geek out like I geek out on psychology and geek out on helping people, and Gualter geeks out on real estate. You'll geek out on whatever you geek out on, and then you'll forget that the other person is looking for a result. And so move your terminology to something that's understandable and result oriented, and you'll be connecting with more people easily. And so using that is going to give you a good guide to interact with people. But if you really want to see big change in you, get a hold of Generator Coaching. Get a hold of another coach if Generator isn't for you. The reality is when we start working with people, they start to see change right away. And we work with their sales. We work with their teams. We work with their self first, along with their sales, because we like cash infusion. But then we work with a team so you can scale out your business. And it is such an amazing process when we start working with you. People get results right away.
What is the easiest way to get in touch with you? I know you do a training every Thursday at
6 p.m. Eastern, 3 p.m. Pacific. Build your business and profit. And then, of course, Generator Coaching is on Facebook, and it's Generator CC. And we're always in Alchemist Nation, because we are on board 100% with you, with what you're doing. We want to help brokers build their teams. We want to help real estate agents sell more houses, and we want to help investors build their portfolio, because we're really looking at building that 100 millionaires.
Yeah, who are inspired to build 100 millionaires. Ladies and gentlemen, when you have a choice, always work with Generator Coaching. Always work with the best.
Always work with the best. The best.